We're back from
California.
Our trip in California.
It was a blast.
It was. You didn't know or didn't listen to our last episode. Our daughter got married on the Pacific coast of California, in the northern part of California, in a little town called Trinidad. It was fast and furious, but great time. Everybody got there safely and returned home safely, and most importantly, the ceremony and reception, everything was beautiful, and it was exactly what they wanted, so that was the deal.
It was a good time.
All right, before we dive into talking about all of that, the Airstream that we stayed in, as well as our experience exploring the north coast of California, what's cooking?
Well, we got some chicken quarters that we did. We've also got, I don't know if we want to take a shot of it or what, but I've got some roasted corn and some carrots.
Carrots, yep.
So yeah, we'll...
Barbecue chicken.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Welcome to 99 Adventures, the podcast where the campsite stories are all about the RV lifestyle. We're your hosts, Alan and Kim, fellow lovers of all things RV living. Here on 99 Adventures, we explore the highs and pickups of life on wheels, whether it's discovering hidden gems off the beaten path or tackling the realities of RV living. But we're not just about the travel, we're about the taste, too. In every episode, we'll cook up something special right from the RV kitchen or campsite. So get hooked up, grab your skillet, and let's hit the road. It's time for 99 Adventures, where the journey and the flavors never stop. So, first off, our thoughts on staying in an Airstream, and I guess we should...
Let's back up just a little bit.
What?
Wish everybody a happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Right. Hope everybody is having as good a weather as we have today. We had some terrible thunderstorms about 2 or 3 o'clock that rolled through. Some of the worst thunder and lightning that I've heard in a long time. Our wiener dogs were beside themselves, shaking. So we were up for a couple of hours while that thing rolled through, but the day just absolutely ended up being fabulous. 75-ish, sunny.
Sunny and 75.
Sunny and 75, and so we took advantage of it. Wanted to do some video today, took advantage of the weather, cooked on the grill, and so here we are.
Yep. We set up a hummingbird feeder right here at our campsite. We just ran up to Dollar General and grabbed it and came back, set it up. Alan says in 1 second.
I don't know if it was 1 second, but I literally...
In less than a minute.
I literally hung the thing in a tree, and by the time I walked back to the door of the RV, there was already a hummingbird there.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
I've never seen one come in that quick, but it's that time of the year.
Yep.
Some of the neighbors, they have theirs up. They've got 2, and they've got, she said, I think like 30 that come by, in excess of 30. Of course, I don't know how you know that. It's hard to count them. They all look alike, so maybe she only has 5 and it looks like 30. I don't know. Anyway, back to California.
California.
Yep.
Our daughter got married at an Airbnb, a property that had like a big house on it, a smaller like bungalow, another area that was called the loft. It was basically a detached garage with the apartment over the garage, and then an Airstream. So
an old Airstream.
I meant to look it up. What do you think? What year?
I think that it is very late 60s.
Yes.
And no more than 73.
Yes.
So I'd say 68 to 73, no more.
Yeah, Airstream.
I just don't, I wouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
Because it was old school.
Yeah, it was. They had done a couple things, like they put a different bed in the space, and then they took out, I guess, where a couch type thing would have been, and put more of a futon type setup or a different type of couch. But What?
I'm laughing because I don't know if Ashlyn, she'll ever watch this or whatever, but I just got to laugh. Now I have to laugh because, so you pull into this property and the very first accommodation that you see is the Airstream. And so it was me, my daughter, and her future husband. We pulled into the property and Ashlyn was just ecstatic. She was like, okay, Dad, there's y'all's Airstream on the right. And I looked over and I tried to say something and like no words literally would come out of my mouth because guys, I mean, from the outside of this, it does not look good. There's literally was a tarp over the the rig, and I was like, and there's moss growing on it, and it's kind of tucked back into the woods and whatnot. We've got some pictures that we'll post just to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
For a very split second, I was really questioning my daughter's decision making
Actually,
for our accommodations.
Actually, you said she was banned.
Yes.
From selecting accommodations for the time being, and that maybe at some point in the future we would allow her to set the accommodations again, but it would be on a limited term and
she's kind of on probation.
Yeah, she's on probation for selecting accommodations. And anyway, but I was excited. It is intriguing at an Airstream because it is very different, and then any sort of travel trailer
rigs
or
that we've ever had.
fifth wheel that we've had.
I've always wanted to stay in an Airstream. And at the end of the day, it all ended up good. The rig slept decent. I slept fine.
I slept fine.
Kim says that they had done some upgrades. I'm telling you, they didn't do any upgrades.
Okay, so here were the upgrades. The flooring, they replaced the flooring. They put a different bed in there, and then they removed the couch thing. They painted on the inside, added some curtains and stuff, but that's it. Like, the bathroom was original.
Should I tell them my thing?
Well, I was gonna tell them.
I'll leave the 14 thing out. But so I was in the military, right? In the Navy. I'm a Navy veteran. You may have read that in our bio. And I did a deployment. I'm specifically talking about the shower.
The
showering experience in this rig. Number one, it is super teeny tiny, and I'm not a big dude. I'm 5'9" on a good day. I was the first one to take a shower, and I got out, and after fighting with this thing, I could never get the hot. It was either too hot or it's too cold. I couldn't find a sweet spot, and the shower head was like, I don't know.
The water
saver.
Felt like needles, because it hit me in a certain spot that was actually quite painful.
Yeah.
So I won't go any more details about that, but.
And so anyway, go back to the Navy thing, right? I told Kim when I got out of the shower, I was like, hey, I've been on my deployment to Bosnia for Operation Joint Endeavor, and I literally have had better shower experiences in a GP medium with 14 other people taking a shower at the same time. I mean, it was crazy. It was nothing like I'd experienced before. But again, all joking aside, it all worked out. Yeah. It was still a great experience because we were there for a great purpose. Yeah. And it worked out.
But Connor stayed in there with us as well.
Our son, yes.
Our son, for Friday night and Saturday night. But like the stove top was original, and you cooked on it.
Cooked on.
Alan cooked bacon, and I promise it smelled like bacon the rest of the time. Even when we got back, my clothes still smelled like bacon, I felt like.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, the shower, and it was a bathtub actually, which was kind of nice. I didn't use it as a bathtub.
I don't know what person would fit in there.
Me, I'd fit.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think it would be very, very tight. Be very, very tight. You put like this much water in it, and it would fill all the way up.
But all in all, I mean, yeah, I would like maybe to still experience more of a newer rig. Oh, because like over our bed at the top, there was like an old radio, right? That they had not replaced.
It was titled Command Central.
It was like analog.
Yeah.
Like it had a clock on it.
But you know what? The clock was actually right.
Oh, that's right. It was right. The clock worked and it was right.
It would blink. It was a constant blink, but every time, and it was the correct time.
Yeah.
And it kept correct time.
Yeah.
You know, so it was.
I mean, everything worked.
Yeah, everything worked. It's just an Airstream experience. It's our first Airstream experience. Yeah. And it happened to be in a 1960-ish, you know, type 60s, rig that doesn't move, right? It stays there.
Yeah. But Airstreams have come a long way. Well, they've come a long way, but then I think that's kind of their roots. I mean, yeah, the shell is still the same as it was then.
They stay with their build, and a lot of people love them, and they sell a lot of them. And hey, I wouldn't mind doing something in a smaller rig, but even a small, teeny, tiny Airstream rig, they are super expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
You know, like if you wanted to get a small one to pull to Alaska or something like that, I think that it's a lot. It's a lot of money.
And the other thing, every rig we've had, correct? Even our first one, the Jayco, has had a slide. Or did the Jayco?
No, the Jayco
that's right.
didn't
The
have a
Jayco
slide.
did not have a slide.
Yeah.
And so we need.
Yeah, we need a little bit of room.
And that's the one thing about the Airstream, you're not going to get a slide, right? So that was the other piece of it. We just don't like that. I mean, we want some width and space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but it was a good time, and you know, we had other opportunities to take showers in other places on the property. One of the other places on the property. So, even though we did use that shower, we could take better showers later. So it was good. But for us, it doesn't quite fit.
No, it wouldn't be for me. I wouldn't. Yeah. Like I said, I want some slides and some room to move around a little bit more. I think the Airstream, I don't know, maybe that's for more like you're not spending a whole lot of time in, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and look, there's a hummingbird right there by your barbecue pit, and he's at the.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's at the feeder, the hummingbird feeder. Cool. Anyway, moving on, we're going to talk about some of the stuff we did in California. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to combine two trips. We went to this same area back in October. We went to our daughter's house. Our now son-in-law, Alan, and I went to the Pacific coast of North California back in October, and then again we were there.
Around the Redding area.
Yeah, they live around the Redding area, but back in October we went and we stayed in Soma, which is outside of Eureka. It's a little community outside of Eureka. And so we're going to talk about stuff we did then in October, and also what we did while we were there in April. So first of all, and we're going to go in order of how they land on the map, not necessarily how we went to them, because we kind of bounced back and forth on different days, and of course it's two different trips and that kind of stuff. So the first thing was the Avenue of the Giants. Our daughter took us down that back in October, and then
Avenue of the Giants. Giants what? Redwoods?
The giant redwoods.
Okay.
That's what it's called, Avenue of the Giants.
Yeah, but I mean, like.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
You know?
Yeah. We went back in October, and then I took my mom and sister back to the same spot. And basically we were at the Humboldt County Visitor Center at the Redwoods State Park. And it was just gorgeous. I felt like the Redwood experience, seeing the Redwoods and all that, it just hit all the highlights. And there at the Humboldt County Visitor Center, there is a little trail area, about a mile and a half trail area that goes down to a river, I don't know which river, that you can go and walk the trail and everything. It's an easy trail. Great opportunities to take pictures and big, beautiful trees. There's, of course, some markers and things like that that give you information about how this area came to be and some information about the Redwoods. So thoroughly enjoyed the Redwoods State Park there at Humboldt County Visitor Center. There is a campground connected to that visitor center, and it was packed when we were there just last week.
No, was it?
Yeah, it was packed. I think California, because this is when we went, it's close to Easter, so I think some of the school districts and stuff in California may have been on spring break, that kind of thing, or, you know, some sort of Easter break, spring break type stuff. So it was very busy. And the one thing, when we went in October, it just smelled so good.
It's like fresh.
Yes, so fresh. This time it didn't smell like that. It smelled like a campground because everybody was out and they had their campfires going and all that kind of stuff. So I was like a little bummed about that. The campground, it's electric and water. It's a state campground. I don't think we could fit this rig in it. So
well, you probably could, but
there might be
it would take some maneuvering, that's for sure.
There might be one or two spots that you could fit a bigger rig, but it's definitely made for, I would say, 30 foot and below type stuff. But it's a very nice campground. They have restrooms there. Of course, there's the hiking trails and everything. I will say that part of the Avenue of the Giants, when we went in October, was shut down. And it was because of a marathon race. Well, when we went back just last week, it was also still, parts of it were shut down. And I don't really know why. But we drove down to the dead end and had to turn around and come back or whatever. So just know that if Google tells you to go a certain way, just follow Google, because part of the road is shut down. Next, we spent some time in Eureka on both trips. With this last trip, we did a lot of shopping in Eureka because we had to get food and things for the wedding. So we were at Costco and the grocery stores and all that kind of stuff. Eureka's just
different strokes for different folks. I mean, it's
kind of meh. It is one of the largest city, or town in the area, so everybody goes there, and they've got anything you would need, that kind of thing.
Weed shops on every corner.
Yeah, there are, which is weird for us.
That's California,
being in
Texas.
Texas.
It's legal there, so.
Yeah, but when we went back in October, we stayed on Samoa. It's a little community. Now, this little community, you can tell there's all these old homes, and I want to call them row houses, but I think they're like shotgun houses, and they're worn down, a lot of them, but people are buying them up and fixing them up and using them. They still had like leftover gas station thing, and that it's empty.
It's basically just a rundown community that's being brought back to life.
It is. So it's pretty neat. And all the little houses are all these big bright colors and things like that. Almost, when I say row houses, I always think of like New Orleans, right? When they have those shotgun houses that are very close together, not much of a yard, it goes straight back, that kind of thing. Very peaked roofs, that kind of stuff. But the Airbnb we stayed at was super cute. I mean, it's a home that was built in the 1920s. It had original fixtures, that kind of thing, but of course they had painted and added on to the house and stuff like that. So, but it was a neat little community. Arcata, which is kind of the next little town up, we went to Arcata both times. And in October, we went to the Arcata Community Forest. Again, that has a very nice easy hiking trail. There's playground, that kind of stuff. So if you're ever in that area, take advantage of it. Of course, it's free. We saw the banana slugs at the Arcata Community Forest, which was cool. Apparently, if you lick the banana slug, it'll make your mouth or tongue go numb or something like that.
Don't do that.
I mean, who wants to lick a banana slug anyway?
There's something symbolic in that area because, I don't know, because of the redwoods or whatever.
I don't know. Yeah. And then this last time, I took my mom and sister and we went to downtown. They have a very nice little downtown area, downtown square. There's shopping, cute little boutiques.
Everything on that coast, you know, every little town that you go to almost kind of seems like something out of a book.
Quaint, right?
Yeah, very quaint, very seaside-ish type communities. Of course, with that, everybody knows everyone, you know, type deal. There's no real huge community. So stop and talk to the locals. They're probably a wealth of knowledge, things to do, things that they've probably done 1,000 times and won't ever do again, but it could be exciting to you to go do stuff around the area.
And you say that, the Airbnb we stayed at in October, the owner left us a list of things to go do. And some of these things we're gonna hit because we actually did some of them. And some of them, the lady mentioned at that Airbnb, we also took advantage of for this just most recent trip. But Arcata it's a really nice little quaint small town type thing. Like I said, downtown, the square has food. We sat at a little cafe. It was delicious. We had a grilled cheese and tomato basil soup and a salad. It was so good. And it's a coffee shop too. And there was a wine bar and some cute little shops that we poked our heads in and stuff like that. Moving up the 101. So the 101 is the kind of the highway, or it is the highway that runs along all of these little towns and up along the coast and everything. But you move into Trinidad, and I will say that if you decide to fly, a lot of the folks that were at the wedding flew into the Arcata McKinneyville airport, and it's United that flies into there, and it was super easy to get there and that kind of stuff. So it's an option if you're ever just wanting to fly into the area or whatever. They do have an airport there. But Trinidad is where the wedding was at and where the Airbnb venue was at. And part of it is tucked up into Redwoods, and then the main part of town is right there on the Pacific Ocean. And I walked down there to the Pacific, and it's just gorgeous, of course. There's these big rocks jetting out there at the harbor, and then
see all the boats that are anchored out way off of the shore.
Yeah, they were like shrimp boats, right? Or that kind of stuff, those kind of boats. And then there's a beach area that you can walk down to. Of course, if you have to walk back up it, do know that you might need to take a break. Because
did you have to take a break?
I should have taken a break at the wine bar that's on Main Street, but I didn't. I didn't take a break, but maybe I should have. The houses there in Trinidad are so cute. Everybody's out doing their yards. They've got flowers. It's just very, very cute, very quaint. It is a tiny little town. There are 2 RV parks. There's one right there in the center of town, and then there was one that was right across from our Airbnb. I would say neither are 2 RV parks that we would want to park our rig at. The one in the center of town, I don't even know if there was anything even available. It looked like a lot of people lived there full time. So did the RV park by the Airbnb. It just kind of looked like a lot of people lived there, and I don't even know if there were any available spots. They just weren't very nice RV parks that we would want to visit or anything. But
the area is nice.
Yes, the area is very nice. And in Trinidad, there is a grocery store, nice sized grocery store, anything you'd want, great wine selection. There's
a couple of things to consider on the grocery stores, or just California in general, is super expensive. For instance, I went when I got there and bought 2 dozen eggs. Now I know the whole egg thing is going on, so that could have influenced it a little bit, but I bought 2 things of eggs, some breakfast sausage, a thing of beef jerky, I think maybe one other thing, but it wasn't anything major. And I spent $72 for that. No, I bought a thing of bacon as well. But still, 4 or 5 items, $72. Gas, if you're running a diesel rig, it's gonna be right at $6 a gallon. Shoot, I mean, regular unleaded, you know, in inflation was $5.50 to $5.80, you know, somewhere around in there. So it stings a little bit. No, not a little bit. It stings a lot when you have to get fuel for both your body as well as your truck. So
yeah, especially when here we're in Texas, we're used to spending. Right now, gas is like $2.78, $2.80. I mean, it's
yeah, it just depends on where you're at, but
yeah. So, but Trinidad, super cute, super quaint. They have a bakery there. I didn't go into the bakery, but we had some sourdough bread from the bakery, and it was delicious. The other thing that we did when we were in October, we went to Fern Canyon. Now, this is a state park type thing, and we had to drive down a 1-lane road, right? That's where that...
Yeah, I don't really kind of even
remember much of it. Okay,
yeah,
so
we weren't driving, so
yeah,
I mean,
so it was you take a road down to it, and I would say that if it's during the rainy season, like this time of year it is there in Northern California, the road may not be all that great.
Yeah, I would just keep that in mind, that a lot of the places that we're talking about, number one, there's not an RV park at the end of that road, right?
No.
But number two, a lot of these roads, you just don't want to pull a rig down. So just be advised on looking at your route and stuff like that before. Oh, hi, Oso. You want to come say hi? You want to say hi?
But if you go down there, I would say bring some water shoes, because once you get down to the park, there's a parking area to go over to the Fern Canyon spot. It's very wet and muddy, and even when you're walking in the Fern Canyon area, it's water and all that kind of stuff. So I wish I'd had some water shoes instead of just tennis shoes. But it is gorgeous. I mean, they're just ferns just growing all up and down the side of mountain, right? I mean, we're in a mountain type area, and it's streamy, and so you can walk through the stream and cross on logs. We didn't go too far into the canyon because we just didn't have the right shoes on. We didn't realize, but it is really beautiful. So if you're looking for something to do, need a afternoon to do something like that, we'd highly suggest Fern Canyon. Just bring water shoes. If you have issues with walking and things
mobility,
like that, yeah, I wouldn't suggest that at all. Also in October, we went to Agate Beach. Now, when we went, it was a cloudy day, kind of foggy, but apparently when the sun is shining, it's gorgeous. It's a very shelly beach, and you have to hike to get to the beach. Again, there are some mobility, like if you have mobility issues, I would say, because there's even some like little narrow stairs that you have to go down to and all that kind of stuff. But it was really cool. We picked up a lot of shells there at the beach, and it hits the Pacific. It is the Pacific Ocean. So again, you're another opportunity to see that and everything. So if it's a sunny day, I think I'd highly recommend doing it, just to see the views. Apparently it's stunning. So that would be Agate Beach. So that's a lot of what we did along the coast. A couple of other highlights. There's Trinity Highway. So both times we've gone to our daughter's house in the Redding area. To get from Redding over to the coast, you have to, there's just two roads. There's two different roads. The one that's right outside of Redding is Trinity Highway. And I had a little bit of PTSD about Trinity Highway because the first time we went, it was, for me, very windy. I ended up having to drive. I get motion sickness very easily. And so this time I did a lot of prepping and probably too much prepping. You should have
brought your glasses to show everybody.
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're stunning.
Yeah, they are. I even have motion sickness glasses. I got them off Amazon. I'll include the link. They're ridiculous looking. They really are. They're round. There's no frame in them. And they're one size, so kid size or adult size.
Just Google it. Trust me, you won't buy a pair. Trust me.
I had ginger ale, I had motion sickness patches, I had the glasses, I had made an essential oil roll-on to help. And so anything to help me make it along this highway, because one of the biggest things is like, it's 90 miles, but it's like 3 hours on this road of windiness.
90 miles? No, it is 142 miles.
Oh, 142 miles.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it takes 3 hours, and some of it's because you can't, the speed you have to drive. Number two, they do construction. Both times we've gone, there's been construction going on, and it's 2 lane, but then they'll have where it goes to one side has a second lane for passing and that kind of stuff. But this construction, it ends up you having to stop, and it's either a light that everybody has to wait, and then the light will turn green and you can go, or there's somebody there with a pilot car to lead you when it's down to just one lane. So that kind of helped me to just being able to stop and take a breath. But it is beautiful. We saw waterfalls this time, of course, the mountains.
Trinity River.
The Trinity River. There was still snow on the mountains, that kind of thing. So it is a beautiful drive. Just if you get sickness,
just be aware.
Be aware.
And it's a lot of the roads around there, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Period.
The other highlight is Redding, and Mount Shasta is gorgeous.
Huge.
And huge.
Yeah, it's the biggest mountain, tallest mountain around that area. It's got tons of snow on it, way late past the end of May. It tells you how tall that thing is.
Yeah.
And you can see it from Redding.
When you're on I-5, like coming from Sacramento to Redding, you get about 45 miles out, maybe further, and it's just dead straight ahead on I-5. You're just looking at it dead ahead the entire time. And it looks like the Paramount Picture logo. Of course, this time it had all the beautiful snow on it, so it really is gorgeous. They have skiing there and, of course, hiking and all kinds of stuff. We haven't done anything on Mount Shasta other than to just see it in all its glory and beauty.
Mm-hmm. The other thing to consider on Trinity Highway or 299, whatever you want to call it, is obviously the motion sickness thing, but also certain areas of that road require chains in the winter. And it can be pretty treacherous going through that area, so just keep that in mind.
Also, there's no cell phone service for most of it. When you're going from Redding to Eureka on 299, so you're going from east to west, once you get out of Redding, there's no phone service, and then you'll get to Weaverville, and you'll have some service, and then there's no service again till about 20, maybe 25 miles out before you get into Eureka. So just know that too, there's no phone service. But there are some stops, rest stops along the way, and there's call boxes and things like that. So back to Mount Shasta and Redding, when you're coming from Sacramento to Redding, so I said Shasta is straight ahead in front of you, but to your right is Lassen, Volcanic. I just call it Lassen National Park, but apparently it has Volcanic in there. but Lassen National Park. And we actually did go to Lassen in October, and that was gorgeous. And I would highly, highly recommend it. Now, the only issue is that you don't really know when they open because it's dependent on the weather.
The snow.
The snow. So it's usually around June that they open, and then they close sometime in October.
Yeah, the first snow.
Yeah, the first snow. So, but it was absolutely beautiful. So far, like, that's been my favorite
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
national park that I've been to. So Lassen, of course, there are some campgrounds in the area. Again, they're mostly tent, primitive. It's going to be dependent on the weather, when those campgrounds open, that kind of stuff.
You know what made Lassen, I think, probably the best is because it was free to get in.
Oh, it was free
Yeah.
for us.
Yes.
Or was it free, period?
No, we had to use
Oh.
our pass.
Did we? Okay. Well, so why was it free?
So you can go to the national park website and you can apply for, I'm a disabled veteran, and so they have a lifetime pass that I applied for. They want to see your DD-214. I can't remember exactly what they wanted to see.
The papers from the
Papers from
the VA.
From the VA or my DD-214. I can't remember, but at any rate, I had to submit that in like a little package. I think I scanned and emailed it, and they sent me a lifetime pass, and it's good for every national park in the United States. Yeah, so it's kind of cool to use that because some of those park fees are pretty high. I mean, 40 and 60 bucks, right? And I don't even know what it would cost to camp.
Yeah. And of course it's, I don't need a pass because I can just, he's in the car. So whoever's in the car is included.
Is included
with
in
that
it.
pass.
Yeah.
And it's also for anyone who's considered permanently disabled. So
Yeah,
if
you have to
there's-
apply for it, and if you qualify, they send you the park pass. We also have the Texas State Park pass to get into all of the state parks in Texas. That one is specifically for veterans. They also have other options,
Military.
non-military, but we have that one as well.
If you fall into any of those categories, I highly recommend getting your state and a national park pass so that anytime you're in an area and you want to go visit, it's free.
Yep, and it's free.
It's free. All right, so that's our experience and our adventures
In the Airstream
in the Airstream,
and daughter's wedding.
daughter's wedding, the north coast
Yeah.
of California, and then a little east over into Redding, Lassen National Park, Mount Shasta. All right, well, just like that, another journey comes to a close on 99 Adventures. So raise a glass, join us in a toast. Here's to RV Life, tasty meals, and the adventures still waiting for us.
Peace.
Until next time, enjoy your RV adventure, and bon appetit.